you immediately dissect that one, Chris?
Not as well as I will in time. Look, clearly we're a bit off, have been, in the early part of the year. Look, I don't think we've been horrible, but the competition's so tight now that, you lose a couple of tight ones, a few things haven't gone our way. Our execution's off. It kind of doesn't. It doesn't look like the way that we play when we're at our best. But we've always known that. Even when we were going really well, that if our level slips a little bit, the comp's so tight that, if you fall back a little bit, you're at risk of losing every game you play. So there are some things that are really obvious to us, and we went in eyes wide open with a few of our guys early in the year that will get better as the year goes on. And then we've got some, other parts of our game and some personnel that are a little bit off for reasons that are a bit harder to explain. So that's kind of the immediate dissection. But the most important point is that we pride ourselves on our sort of consistency and the way we sort of approach things. So having been tested in a position where we've lost 3 in a row for a while. So in a way, I'm kind of looking forward to that. It's easy to say the words when things are going smoothly, but it's been rare for us to actually get the opportunity to show how you can respond and fix things.
Are you able to expand on what you think is obvious at this stage, Chris? What's going on?
No, well, my reference with the obvious parts in terms of personnel and some, some guys coming out. Hawkins will be better. There's a whole range of them. We'll get Duncan back next week and College Asney back and sort of fix, when you've sort of fixed one part of the ground, then sort of things flow from there. We've had to plug a few holes that have contributed to, along with other things, just contribute to us being a bit disjointed. And it's amazing how those things can flow. If we execute a little bit better with the ball over the last few weeks, we might be sitting here saying, we're 3-0 and everything's absolutely fine, and that wouldn't be the case either. So, the art of coaching, I think, or part of it at least, is sort of getting our coaching group together and just being rational in the way that we sort of think about things. There's very little chance that we'll overreact, but you also need to react. It's not a matter of just saying, she'll be right. We'll sort of so. There are some parts of our game that are off, and we need to fix them as quickly as we can.
What about around the stoppages, Chris? Is that one of the parts of your game that you're alluding to there? I think I don't know what the numbers ended up, but it was fairly one-sided for a lot of the day. Is that an area of concern, or did you think you nullified the impact of their clearances?
No, it was an area of concern. Yeah, I think that's part of it for us. We can play a lot better in there. And again, there are sort of some things we look at and think, okay, well, that there was going to be some teething problems with some of the shifts we made in there. And then there are just other guys who we've got a lot of faith in and will continue to have faith in that are just a bit off. And I think that, the days are gone of having a bad day but scraping through. I just think that's, at least when I watch footy, even the games I watch on TV, I don't watch anyone and think, geez, they're not much good. We've just sort of come to a position that I think's sort of been around for a little while, and it tends to be magnified early in the year when teams are up and going. And if you're off and you're sort of coming from a little bit behind some of those other teams that have had a long pre-season and couldn't wait to get out and play, then it can make a big difference. But even when I say that out loud, I don't want that to sound like, we had a late start to pre-season. It's not that. We've got some real things, but every club would. We just got to rest where we're at. I don't want to be too rose-coloured glasses about it, but I'm not looking at us thinking we are just horrific. But a little bit off and you lose and it feels bad.
Do you think it was a bit contagious today? Like everyone was missing, dropping marks. What do the players? What do you get the vibe from the players about that early, especially?
Well, a couple of them said there was something wrong with the ball. That's what it looked like. So the problem for them is they change the balls all the time. So I would love that to be the reason. But it's when Yeah, I mean, you're in a similar position to us in the coaches' box in that respect. We've always tried to sort of isolate, our role and what can be changed from the situations where it's kind of like it was a skill error. Like, that's not something that we're going to fix, and it's in the moment. It's not something we're going to get too frustrated about. But when it's repetitive from players who you're used to seeing more from, it's a bit difficult to understand. But again, the day that I just blame the players and completely lose my mind, I reckon it's a time for me to give it up. I'm not there yet.
Tom Hawkins, as a player you mentioned before, is he someone you think's far away from getting back to that top nick? Because he obviously had a difficult sort of opening to his season.
Well, it's hard to say, but we fully expected that bringing him in would help us structurally, but he would be a little bit off where he'll be when he gets back to full match fitness. So kind of a month into it, we're pretty confident that then he'll start hitting his straps. There was an alternative strategy where sort of we keep him out and he doesn't do any more or less than he's getting in games at the moment, and it's still, I think, a net positive for us to have him out there.
Chris, people are going to ask during the week where 0-3 leaves your premiership defence. I might as well put my head on the block.
Oh, it depends if you think when you toss three heads that the tails must be next. Like, we would prefer to look at it in terms of making sure that we get the next bit right. And we could spend a whole lot of time sort of thinking about what it means and referring back to last year, which I get why people do, but it would be a mistake for us to do it. It's much more logical for us to think, okay, let's look at who we are right at the moment and not reference last year and not reference what it might mean for July or August or September. But that's not me pushing back on you, or that's kind of the difference between kind of what you guys do and what we do. And you're doing the right thing, and I think we're doing the right thing as well. So I guess that's our take on it. But yeah, I won't be defensive if anyone says it's not the ideal start to the year.
Especially when you say that it's such an open race and you can lose every game for a bit off. Given that, you're sort of you're losing, running out of, I've lost my phrase.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But I kind of prefer to look it from the other side. So the competition being really close is daunting in a way, because every week you only think, we've got to be on just to win this one. But at the same time, if you're kind of good enough, you should be in every game as well. I don't think, I can never tell 3 or 4 rounds in any year who the best teams are. It sort of takes time. But I completely get it. If you fall too far behind, it means you've got to win more games in less time. But it is also true that if you win a lot of games in a row late, good things can happen. And it's possible.
Sorry, Sam DeConing, we saw obviously there was a terrible looking head clash. How's he? What was the update on him?
Yeah, so he got taken out under the head injury protocols. Fortunately, and again, no one should read too much into this because they're all a little bit different, but I did get the chance to speak to him, and he said, look, I'm fine, but he was subbed out. So there's a lot of, I shouldn't go into too much detail because it's not my area of expertise, but there are some situations where the protocols and the questions and the tests they put them through are just a hard failure. And it's like, okay, he's really affected here. He came together pretty quickly, not good enough to keep playing, but he's symptomatic of a bit that's happening with us at the moment. We just, he's having a bit of bad luck. He's just been in the wrong spot quite a few times over the last few weeks. But, like us collectively, we'll look after him and make sure we bounce back, and he'll bounce back too.
What did you think of that? The coach's goal, tip your cap to pretty good kick.
Yeah, well, there's that as well. I thought in a game where the execution from both teams was really off. As the game went on, they kind of found their mojo a little bit, and we didn't. That would be a pretty good summary. I mean, I'm the eternal optimist when it comes to the way we can play within games. Like even when we're playing poorly and the game's going against us, I rarely sit back and look at our players and think that they can't win because they just keep going and going and going. So I didn't think that was the problem. It was just when we had the chances, the execution was a bit... Don't see that too often from that guy. And they kind of fixed their bits a bit. But again, I've looked at that team for a long period of time and thought they can be pretty good. And their good players were good at the end. It was a credit to them.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chris.